The state of New Hampshire is known for its fall foliage in New England, but it was also dominated by freight transportation. For my series of Shortline railroads, today we'll be talking about New Hampshire Northcoast. Chapter 1. History. In 1985, the New Hampshire Northcoast Railroad was formed by the Boston Sand and Gravel Company. The railroad was established to ensure the efficient transportation of raw materials to Boston Sand and Gravel's facilities. Specifically, New Hampshire Northcoast operates on the former B&M Conway branch, a 43-mile line running from Ossipee, New Hampshire to Rollinsford, New Hampshire. From Rollinsford, New Hampshire Northcoast has access to CSX in Dover, New Hampshire, connecting the railroad to larger rail networks. The main objective of New Hampshire Northcoast was to haul sand, gravel, and stone products from Ossipee aggregate pits to Boston Sand and Gravel's distribution points, particularly in the greater Boston area. This enabled the parent company to bypass increasingly congested and expensive highway transport routes. Despite the narrow focus on aggregate materials, New Hampshire Northcoast proved to be a profitable and efficient operation. The Shortline railroad model, with its lower overhead and more flexible operational structure compared to larger Class I railroads, which allowed New Hampshire Northcoast to thrive. In addition, New Hampshire Northcoast's ability to interchange with other railroads, such as CSX at Dover, New Hampshire, expanded its market reach. Throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, New Hampshire Northcoast focused on improving its infrastructure. Track upgrades were undertaken to ensure that the line could handle modern rail cars and increase operational efficiency. The line, which initially downgraded during its years of neglect under the Boston and Maine, saw significant rehabilitation, allowing for smoother and faster freight operations. In 2021, CSX Transportation had acquired Pan Am Railways, which influenced New Hampshire Northcoast operations a bit, as CSX integrates Pan Am's network into its own. The relationship between New Hampshire Northcoast and CSX could open up further opportunities for expanding freight service in the region. Now today, New Hampshire Northcoast operates well between New Hampshire and the greater Boston area. Chapter 2. The route and trains. The 43-mile line starts up north in Ossipee, New Hampshire, where it works at Ossipee Aggregates. The trains usually get to the pit in Ossipee at 11 in the morning. Once the train is ready, it gets filled with its sand and gravel and runs under the symbol D8 at around 2 in the afternoon. The train then heads south to Dover, where it interchanges with CSX. From there, they take the cars to Boston under the symbol DOBO to Boston Sand and Gravel. They usually arrive in Boston at around 11 at night. They work there for a few hours and head back to Dover under the symbol BODO in the early morning. Chapter 3. Rolling stock. New Hampshire Northcoast only operates 3 locomotives on its fleet. GP18 number 1801 was built in 1960 and is the oldest unit on the roster, which was acquired from the New England Southern Railroad as NEGS 503 before being repainted. GP38 number 3823 was built in 1978 and used to be ex-Conrail 8242, which was acquired from Helm Leasing in the mid-2000s. They also have a FURX GP38-2 number 5509 on lease and is not owned by New Hampshire Northcoast. Chapter 4. Conclusion. New Hampshire Northcoast has effectively established a place in the regional rail freight market, primarily by carrying aggregate materials for the construction industry. Its connection with Boston Sand and Gravel has been crucial to its success, allowing it to focus on specialized freight services. Over the years, New Hampshire Northcoast has maintained its infrastructure, adapted to changing market conditions, and remained an important part of New England's freight transportation network.